I'm Andrew Speir. This presentation is titled The Calm Before the Storm. You'll see why. You're going to see me skip around a lot, and there's an intent here. So I'm going to cover a problem that everybody here is very familiar with. And the reason I'm going to cover it is because it happened again. Walk into the mailbox like I do every week. Open it up, get all my mail, stuff it in the plastic bag you're not supposed to have anymore. Went back to the house and I sorted it between the bills, and the flyers, and the ads, and there it was in that envelope. Notice of data breach. How many times is this going to happen? And why is it happening? And so I started to think about this because about the same time, Alex Bender calls me and says, "Hey, Andrew, I need you to talk at the Innovation Summit." I said, "Oh yeah, what about?" He said, "Cybersecurity." I said, "Perfect." Who better? So I started consulting with my team, who are the actual experts. And they talked to me about the domino effect. We'll talk about that. It's right there on the screen. But before I do, I read this Gartner report that was somewhat shocking because in conjunction with this, there's some other initiatives that I'm really trying to educate myself about making sure we're being specific, defining the problems so that we can better help our clients, future or existing and future. And what's interesting is that specifically in the DIB, 80% don't have the basics. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about cyber hygiene. They don't have multi-factor authentication. They don't have SIEMs. They don't even have vulnerability management systems in place. That's a problem. When 80% of the DIB is not doing the basics from a cyber hygiene perspective, you end up having the domino effect. That same report said 95% of cyber errors because of human error, or vulnerabilities because of human error. That seems like a really high number, but they're Gartner. They know more than I do for sure. So the domino effect effectively takes place when you use your default password and somebody like that man right there, the only man in a hat, by the way, decides he wants to know more about you. Because there's a lot of people like that. Unfortunately, we have that group to help us and to help our customers. But there's a lot of people like that don't work for us, that in fact don't work for anybody but themselves, that are for hire, that want to see harm be done to us, the DIB, the United States. So what we're talking about here, that basic cyber hygiene, this is what happens when, I'm going to go through a lot of slides here, and I'm going to do it really quickly. And it's meant to illustrate something that over the last 6 weeks, since Alex Bender, sitting there in the back, big round of applause for everything that she's done here. Said, "Hey, I really want you to talk." And so what I did is, every day, I picked up and I looked on my computer and I just went to the news and I just looked at headlines, cyber headlines. And we're just going to go through a couple of them. And by a couple, I mean a lot. And this is just a fraction of the ones that I saw. And it's meant to illustrate the following. Look, if we don't do the basics, a lot more harm is coming. That's a big boo-boo. That's a big oopsie. That's $1 billion oops. So healthcare, hospitals, let's talk about that for just one quick second. Just as an example, hospitals, I'm not picking on you. Healthcare, I'm not picking on you. You just heard Cal Stevens talk about what we've done in support of healthcare IT for the DoD and the DHA. We genuinely know what we're talking about. But the reality of the situation is that as hospitals have embraced IT like every other industry, their footprint, their IoT footprint, especially at the hospitals themselves, has increased at a way that makes it really hard to manage that. I'm hearing an echo, but. And so as a result, you get problems. This is Microsoft. Let's talk about any one of these things. Windows, got Russia, AT&T. Who here has AT&T? Yeah, me too. I'm going to get one of those letters. Remember those letters in the very beginning? Yeah, I'm going to get one of those again in a couple weeks. And I can do this for, well, as long as we have. This can go on and on and on and on. And there's a reason that I'm doing it this way. It's to illustrate we're all apathetic to the topic. Look, I don't want to bring this up. I hesitate to bring this up. I even told myself I wouldn't bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Because I'm stubborn. Y'all remember COVID? Remember how apathetic we got? We just wanted it to be over. We got tired of the debates. We got tired of the headlines. We got tired of the facts. Similarly situated is this topic of cybersecurity. And what I'm talking about is not just cybersecurity, but the basics of cybersecurity. But the basics of cybersecurity won't be enough. They haven't been enough. We're not even doing it at the basic level. At 80% of the DIB isn't doing it. And this is pre-AI. Remember I told you that at the very, very beginning, the title of this presentation was The Calm Before the Storm. When 88 million Americans have had their identities taken or their information taken, and this is the calm before the storm, please listen. We're all tired of the topic. There is a problem. We've defined it. What's the solution? It's really simple. If you don't know how, we'll show you. We, Core4's. We find your vulnerabilities, we fix them, and then we work with you and your organization to help make sure it doesn't happen again. I was told not to put this slide up. But I'm full grown. And it's just meant to illustrate, look, we've defined the problem well. Let's make sure that we define the solution well. And the solution is very basic to talk about, but it is complicated to execute. That's why this is what we do. Let us help you. Thank you for your time.
Great, how are you?
I'm terrific.